Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out what I think is just one of the best teams that I've used throughout all of Series 10 and probably my favorite to use at the moment right now, featuring Gothitelle. Now, some of you may know Gothitelle is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, and this set is really fun and annoying to play against. This was built by a player called VGC. You may recognize that name because we played against them on the ladder before. They've always been really high ranked and using really cool teams. And yeah, this is just a remarkably consistent team. I, throughout this weekend, was trying out a bunch of different teams to just varying degrees of success and found that, like, this one I always just had, like, the highest probability of winning with out of a bunch of things that I was trying out, just because it's so consistent. It has so many tricks up its sleeve despite using relatively standard Pokemon. So huge shout outs to VGC for the team. Check them out, linked in the description below. I've linked their Twitter as well as a rental and a paste courtesy of them. And yeah, as always, I'll briefly just talk about the team before getting into the battles, which are timestamped in the description below. So, couple of fun things on this team. First of all, you've got Gothitelle. This is max speed Gothitelle, so you can actually outspeed most of the common fake out users, even in Incineroar and Rillaboom, right? So that's really important because it allows you to lead Gothitelle plus something like Zacian and just potentially fake out the fake out user on the opposing side and get a big attack off with Zacian. Or in the case of Urshifu, for example, if you lead Goth Urshifu into Incin plus something, you can fake out Incin's partner and then just Surging Strikes the Incineroar. And even if they fake out Urshifu that turn, you can Surging Strikes the subsequent turn. So Gothitelle, max speed with safety goggles, that's super useful, obviously, against Amoonguss specifically, and you've got Taunt. I love the Taunt on Gothitelle because if you trap in support-oriented Pokemon like Amoonguss, for example, you can make them completely useless, and they just basically cannot play the game. So this Gothitelle actually doesn't have any offense, but it's because it has Fake Out, that's important, Taunt's really important. Helping Hand is so crucial in helping you snowball with Zacian on this team specifically, and then Hypnosis is one of those moves that Gothitelle, like, is just a really good user of because, like, you often don't have anything better, right? Sure, you can have something like a Foul Play or a Psyshock, but those don't really do that much damage in the long run. And Hypnosis, even though it's relatively inaccurate and unreliable, you know, sometimes you'll be in situations where there's just nothing better to do. You don't want to switch out, and Gothitelle doesn't really have anything else to do, so you just go for Hypnosis, and you can often potentially just, like, win a game if you hit a single Hypnosis. It's just a complete game changer of a move. So this Gothitelle is really important in trapping Pokemon in, right? For example, you look at something like Zacian. What is Zacian not like going up against? Well, Fire-type Pokemon, Ground-type Pokemon. If you can trap those Pokemon in with Gothitelle and just use Choice Scarf Urshifu to Surging Strikes and KO them, it just completely opens up the path for Zacian in the late game. So, you know, the main reason I wanted to use this team is because it has Gothitelle. That is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon in VGC. I used it at Worlds in 2014 and 2015, and it's just a super fun Pokemon. So this is a really cool way to use Gothitelle, and I think the Taunt is actually a really big difference maker as well. And yeah, like, it just really shuts down so many support Pokemon that otherwise might give you some trouble. So we've talked about Gothitelle. This is a bulky Zacian set. It's not max speed. It have a lot of bulk in it, and it's not the, you know, Swords Dance or Substitute set. It's Play Rough, Close Combat, and Behemoth Blade. So as a result, you're just maximizing your damage output, and it makes a lot of sense because you can combo KO so quickly with Helping Hand from Gothitelle. To round out the team, you've got AV Rillaboom. This is standard. Just note the drum beating. That helps out specifically against Tsareena, Kyogre team compositions. Choice Scarf Urshifu. This is so nice in just getting a huge burst of damage off into certain team comps and just one-shotting things before they can move. And yeah, often catching opponents off guard. U-turn is also nice, especially when you lead like Urshifu Gothitelle to fake out U-turn and then potentially switch out into Zacian immediately after turn 1. So Rock Tomb is also generally helpful against Volcarona. And then finally, you've got Mental Orb Tornadus with Rain Dance and Tailwind and Hurricane. So this is kind of fun because there's no Kyogre on the team, but Rain Dance is still helpful for Tornadus Urshifu. This turns your matchup against Groudon so much more favorable. And Rain Dance generally also just allows you to, you know, use Hurricane and hit that 100% of the time. And then finally, Leftovers Quiver Dance Volcarona. Lefties might seem like kind of a curious item, but it's actually really strong, especially because there's a Rillaboom on this team. So, for example, one mode that's really effective is just going Rillaboom Volcarona, fake out Quiver Dance turn 1. And the thing is, between Leftovers and Grassy Terrain, you're actually healing a significant amount of your HP each turn, especially when you throw Protect on top of that, right? So it's like you're doubling the recovery thanks to Grassy Terrain and Leftovers, and then after Protect, you further increase that recovery. So there's a lot of fun components to this team, and while, you know, the Pokemon, none of these are really super crazy, I think a lot of this team is built around Gothitelle and its strength in just allowing you to snowball games really quickly. So effective use of Gothitelle will be important. And the reason I wanted to use this team was because like this weekend I was just practicing with a bunch of different team compositions and like to varying degrees of success, and this was just like so consistent, always the team that I can rely on to generally get victories with. So I really think this is like just one of the strongest teams I've used throughout all of Series 10. If you're looking for a team to climb the ladder with that has a couple cool tricks up its sleeve, this is certainly one that I would recommend. So thanks to Paris VGC for the team. Thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. Question of the day: Gothitelle is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon to use in VGC, so I want to know what your favorite Pokemon to use in VGC, doesn't have to be in this format, is, and let's get started. Alright, first match of the day, and this is absolutely wild. As I mentioned while covering the team, like this team has just been really consistent for me, and I spent the weekend trying out like all kinds of different things, kind of wonky ideas, and to be honest, just had very varying degrees of success with it, which is why, as you can see, my rating has dropped quite a bit. So hoping to get some more consistent wins with this team, which I think is just absolutely incredible. And we're up against a very unorthodox team for the first game. So yeah, let's jump into things. Mantine, Drago, this is just wild. I actually don't have good damage output into Mantine, which is kind of funny, but also scary. Oh, we do have Play Rough on Zacian, actually. That in itself is pretty good. I like the idea of leading Gothitelle Zacian, trap him in early, and go from there. Urshifu generally is good damage. I don't love Volk here. I think Rillaboom is probably it for terrain control because it helps out against Indeedee and Mewtwo. So, with this team, in the games that I tried it out with, you have to be very careful about getting tempted into just clicking Hypnosis too early on, because I fell into that trap very frequently. It's very tempting, right? Because it's 60% to hit, and obviously those are better. Those odds are slightly in your favor. But it's very easy to just want to click Hypnosis immediately. It is just often such a good option. But, yeah, you just want to be a little bit careful about when you go for it. You're going to have Indeedee and Mewtwo. Truthfully, turn 1, I want to protect Zacian and Taunt into the Indeedee since we trapped that in. And then just go for like a Helping Hand Behemoth Blade onto Mewtwo turn 2. That's the beauty of Gothitelle trapping things in. Okay. Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for Taunt. Protect. Maybe they have like double Shadow Ball here. Could just be double Expanding Force, but I would expect the Gothitelle to survive that. They go for Follow Me, no problem. Ideally, it's like a Flamethrower into Zacian here. Or Fire Blast, that also works. Cool. Now, I don't think you should be Mental Orb here. Okay. Now I can just go for Helping Hand and Behemoth Blade. I feel like Focus Sash is not exactly the most common item on Mewtwo, so I'd be quite surprised if it had that here. Maybe you can protect Mewtwo. Indeedee goes for Expanding Force or Mystical Fire, but that's not super scary right now. Okay, good protect on Mewtwo. Confirms you're not choiced. But I have very little incentive to not target the Mewtwo slot here until I see what Indeedee goes for, and I expect at worst it's a Shadow Ball. That's fine. Okay, decent damage though. But if we can trap and just knock out Mewtwo, that's huge, right? And it's not even a 2-hit KO from Shadow Ball, so even if they go for a double protect, well, another Shadow Ball is not KOing Gothitelle right now. The only fear is if they're Focus Sash on Mewtwo. But if I'm seeing Mewtwo, I'm always expecting Life Orb or Specs, one of the two. Or you could be Scarf as well. So let's see if they prove me wrong and are actually Focus Sash. Even if you are Sash, though, we should be bulky enough to survive a Fire Blast. Like, you need the Life Orb or Specs increased damage output to get a KO. And they're not Sashed. Beautiful. And this is like why Gothitelle can just lead to so many advantages early, right? Your opponent has a subpar lead. You trap them in. You can knock out so many Pokemon so quickly. And this Gothitelle pairs so nicely with this Zacian because, first of all, this Zacian is not the Swords Dance or Sub-Variant, meaning you have the maximum amount of coverage for Zacians typically. There's Mantine coming in. That's really cool. I'm just going to Helping Hand and Play Rough here. That typically gets access to Wide Guard, Icy Wind, but it's not a big damage dealer. So even if you protect here, it's fine. I'm at the point now where I also don't really need the Gothitelle. It's done what it needed to, which was trapping in Mewtwo to begin the game. But we are going to connect, and that's a one-hit KO. Yeah, like, Helping Hand plus this Zacian just snowballs so ridiculously quickly. So, your Shadow Ball. Okay. And Taunt wears off. Got Rillaboom and Scarf Urshifu in the back. What do they have? Stakataka. I think bringing Rillaboom is probably right here, because I can change Tsareena and just fake out the Indeedee and then use Zacian to target whatever their final Pokemon is. Which is going to be Scrafty. Wow. I've not seen Scrafty in a while. I think the last time I ran into it was probably when it was back in the WBE for VGC. Way back. Cool. Yeah, I think, like, this is once again just why in this format it's really tough to make restricteds like Mewtwo work. They just have to work so hard to win against common Pokemon like Zacian, unfortunately. So, we'll just fake out and Behemoth Blade here. We can split our damage. Don't need to rely on going for inaccurate attacks. Yeah, Zacian just wins the game at this point. So, yeah, like, kudos to my opponent to try and make Mewtwo work. A lot of, like, the lower tier restricted Pokemon just struggle because they don't do super well until the top tier restricteds, right? So, yep, this was Timid Max. It was actually Twisted Spoon rather than a Life Orb, which makes sense. AV Scrafty. Focus Sash Indeedee. Yeah, Taunt was so valuable into this, especially after trapping it in. Psychic Seed, Stack. Choice Specs. Huh, Sleep Talk. That's actually a really cool tech against Amoonguss. And then Citrus on Mantine. Yeah, as you can see, it's support. Pretty valuable, though, into, like, rain teams with Wide Guard, right? So, that's really cool. Max HP, max defense here. Wow, even with max HP, max defense, yeah, we can one-shot it. Not running Life Orb on Mewtwo is interesting, but I suppose they just want to conserve their, like, HP and not take chip damage. And Twisted Spoon is obviously a pretty strong item to boost your Psychic type attack specifically. Cool. Yeah, that was definitely a really unique team, and I give my opponent props for trying to make Mewtwo work, because I think that is probably one of the most difficult Pokemon to use in this format. By use, I mean, like, build easily around and, like, win consistently with. And once again, like, you know, you've seen on Road to Rank probably that I've used all the restricted Pokemon at least once at this point, so everything is viable. It's just that some have to work so much harder for wins than others. We're up against Palkia. It's a pretty standard Palkia comp in general. I like God Zacian once again. I don't know if I want to lead that, but these two are certainly fantastic. AV Rillaboom's really good against Palkia, so I feel like the top three are, without a doubt, like, we must bring. The Stakataka I'm nervous about. I think there's no way I can bring Volcarona here, given that their main attackers are Stack, Moltres, and Palkia. Tornadus. It's got Mentor. That's not valuable as an item here. I've got Taunt. Rain Dance isn't valuable. I think it's probably the top 4, honestly. So I like GOTHITELLE Zacian personally with Rillaboom and Urshifu in the back. I'm a little bit sad I haven't really been able to, like, bring Volcarona out yet, because I think that's actually one of the coolest things about this team. So this is just not the game for it. When your opponent's restricted as Palkia, it's not it. Volk is good into, for example, just special attackers in general. Xerneas, for example, you can Quiver Dance in front of it, and then Zorn won't do, you know, as much damage. They're going to go with Incineroar Palkia. I'm pretty okay with this because we have Play Rough. So here's what I actually want to do turn 1. I want to fake out... So the thing I have to worry about here is Trick Room. This Gothitelle is max speed, so it should have a faster fake out than Incineroar. If you're my opponent, though, you probably just fake out Zacian, right? You know what I can do? I can fake out Palkia, switch Zacian out into Urshifu, reset Intimidate. Then next turn, I can Surging Strikes the Incineroar because they're trapped in, and taunt Palkia to prevent them from going for a Trick Room. And once the taunt is off, you also can't protect the subsequent turn, so then if I get the Zacian back in, well, I can just play Rough You. We trade Fake Outs, which is exactly what I was looking for. Good. Palkia flinches. Doesn't give me any indication towards what it was going for, but yeah, I really do just like Taunt and Surging Strikes right now. And Urshifu's main value in this game really was to knock out Incineroar, and if we can trap Incin and get, you know, KO it, then that sets the stage up for Zacian in this late game. Oh, the only fear is Incin actually surviving here. It looks like it might be bulky enough too if you have a berry. It does not have it buried though. Okay. That's huge. That's Instant out of the way, and that's the primary threat to Zacian out of the way. Okay. We're going for Taunt, but moves before Palkia, so it's either just slow Palkia or they're trying to Trick Room here. No, it actually is just slow. Oh, interesting. Fine, I'm fine with that though. Ideally, this KOs us. I want the free switching into Zacian. Perfect, because now your Palkia is taunted, right? So you can't go for Protect, meaning Zacian can just come in and play rough you. You can see how good like Taunt plus Gothitelle trapping things in is, right? So there I could have risked the Hypnosis. May have actually been okay. Ooh, okay. They bring in Amoonguss. Unless you're Mentor on Amoonguss, though, I think we can just safely taunt the Amoonguss here while protecting Zacian. I could just play rough here as well because of Amoonguss Rage Powders. I'm just worried about a Hydro Pump crit onto Zacian. But they could also Spatial Rend crit onto Gothitelle, so maybe I just accept that maybe there's a chance of them critting here. And I'm down to just taunt and play rough Palkia. Perfect. That's even better. So if we don't misplay rough here, we're in very, very good shape. And beautiful. This is what I love about the Zacian set, right? Like, so many players often either expect one of Swords Dance or Substitute. This one's like, I'm just here for maximum offense. And that's what makes Zacian one of the most most popular restricted picks and most consistent picks. It can just set up and deal damage immediately. A lot of the other like lower tier restricteds, things like Mewtwo, for example, it takes some work to get them going, right? Okay, so the main question here is, do I think Amoonguss is Focus Sashed? Because if not, I can just go for Helping Hand, Behemoth Blade, and pick up the knockout onto that. I think I'm fine just going for a Taunt onto Amoonguss here, though, and to play rough once again into Moltres. Rillaboom being our last Pokemon is actually very bad for us, unfortunately. They're just going to Rage Powder, which is fine, because the Taunt prevents you from going for another Rage Powder, and Zacian walls Moltres pretty hard here. Okay, Rocky Helmet, that's fine. They are faster. Oh, you could flinch us with Fiery Wrath. That's the only downside right now. No flinch. Huge. Perfect. That should win us the game, I think. Because I can just Helping Hand, Behemoth Blade, Amoonguss. Or just KO Moltres. I wonder if Helping Hand, Behemoth Blade just one-shots Moltres, actually. Okay, that's objectively not the right play to go for, because they could have a Pollen Puff on Amoonguss. So, this wasn't the cleanest endgame. I probably should have just taken the knockout in front of me. I was mainly just curious about this damage calc, and I think like Zacian 2v1's this endgame anyway, so even if this turn doesn't go out perfectly, it's fine. Okay, it is enough for a KO onto Moltres. Good. Yeah, Gothitelle plus Zacian, like, it's interesting that we haven't really used it that much, because this combo is just absolutely incredible. But granted, we've also ran into some more obscure restricted matchups to start this episode, right? Ran into Palkia, ran into the Mewtwo in the last one, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out against like the standard Xerneas, Calyrex, Kyogre, Zacian comps. Either way, though, I think like the strength of Taunt Gothitelle has been very impressive in this one. So it's Goggles on Stack, Figgy on Incin, AV on Moltres. Yep, that's probably the most common item on it. Rocky Helmet on Amoonguss, as we saw. Rose Incense on Rillaboom. And then Lustrous Orb on Palkia. Huh. So the thing is, it wasn't even that slow, but Gothitelle just being max speed was faster than it, which is kind of funny. But, you know, I always wanted to taunt there because Trick Room going up could be, like, really, really bad news for us. So, yeah. Let's just keep it going. I'm glad that I haven't been baited into just clicking Hypnosis immediately in any of our games yet, because that's, I think, like an easy mindset to get trapped by, and it was a mistake that I was making a lot. This is just Santi's Kyogre team. Okay, so we know it's Scarf Ogre. Well, actually, I don't know if it's the same rental. By the way, a good way to, like, generally see if it's the same rental is if all the Pokemon are in the same order as the rental and the genders are the same. And I comment on that because yesterday, someone was like, oh, you could have thrown against Ho-Oh if they had Substitute, but it was yesterday, whichever episode it was, where we went up against that Ho-Oh team that I previously had used, and the idea is like, hey, if you can tell that it's a popular rental team, it gives you a huge advantage, and it's pretty hard to like mimic a rental team and have the exact same genders for all. Now, if you really wanted to get cheeky, you could pretend to like have a rental team, but turns out it's just your own variation. That would actually be a really big brain idea. You just have to get all the right genders on the Pokemon as well, right? So, I actually don't remember Santi, so I should maybe listen to my own advice. Oh man, this one is interesting. I don't know. I really don't know about how to lead this one. I lean towards Rillaboom Goth, Zacian. Tornadus. I wanted Urshifu, but it's so hard to justify. It's because like most of my opponent's Pokemon resist Urshifu, right? But I just feel like I didn't come up with the best lead with Gothitelle here if I was leading it. Was Rillaboom truly the best partner for it? I'm not sure. So let's see what they go with. Tsareena and Kyogre. Okay, this actually ends up being... Is it positive for us? We've trapped the Kyogre in, so that's generally positive. And if it's Scarf Ogre... Question is, do I outspeed Tsareena with Goth? Because if we knock out Kyogre immediately, that just paves the way for Zacian to win the game, right? I've got Drum Beating. I could Helping Hand Drum Beating. Honestly, Gothitelle is not that important in the grand scheme of things in this game, other than to try to knock out this Kyogre. I'm just worried about Rillaboom fainting to, like, Tsareena being faster than Rillaboom, and then they just go for Triple Axle. Because we're max speed, and I'm fairly sure Drum Beating is going to KO Kyogre, I am down to Drum Beating Kyogre here and just go for a Hypnosis onto Tsareena to cover for the option of Tsareena being faster than Rillaboom. Okay, they just Water Spout, that's fine. I think God survives this. That was close, though. Okay. Hypnosis hits. This was to cover for Tsareena being faster, right? Like, so a lot of times Serena's won't even be faster here, so I didn't need to go for it, but I needed to cover for Water Spout, Triple Axle, and they were faster here, so yeah, like, because if you Water Spout, Triple Axle, and you get all 3 hits onto Rillaboom, that's a disaster for us. But now this actually looks amazing for us, right? I just one-shot my opponent's restricted Pokemon. So today's episode highlights once again the strength of Gothitelle trapping things in, because in all 3 games, we've been able to get a one-hit KO onto our opponent's restricted Pokemon. I cannot stress how important that is. So, yeah. Okay. Getting the sleep onto Tsareena is obviously really lucky. Like, Hypnosis is not a move you should rely on, but I honestly was not sure how fast a Tsareena on the side was, right? So I was like, okay, might as well go for it. This is still not over by any means, though, but now I get Zacian in, which is very, very good for us. I think I like going into Zacian here. The thing is, I don't want Gothitelle around right now. But I also don't want to switch out, because the Pokemon I have in the back are more valuable. Now, Zacian can switch in relatively safely, but with Tornadus, like, let's say they actually Triple Axle or Hurricane the Gothitelle slot, that's a lot of damage on a Tornadus. So I'm just going to go for Hurricane, and I don't care if I hit or miss, honestly. If I hit, it's probably instantly game over. But if I miss, it's completely fine. Honestly, I would be happy with Icy Wind KOing us here so that I get the free switch into the Tornadus. But God's actually going to survive that. Wow. So, honestly, I'm hoping for a miss here just to show the balance on why you shouldn't rely on Hypnosis too much. Yeah, they get the Wake Up. Okay, cool. It's going to be Axel. But the thing is, now... Oh, and they miss, unfortunately. And Hypnosis miss. Okay, perfect. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because... Like I mentioned, if you rely on Hypnosis, it's going to induce a lot of variance, right? Especially if you outspeed them, because it's like a kind of like Sleep Powder, but even worse, right? But the thing is, now I don't really mind, because I can just one-shot Tornadus. They're probably going to Tailwind. What is their last Pokemon going to be? Urshifu is probably the main thing to worry about, because we have a speed drop here on Zacian. Now, I've got my Tornadus in the back, and I have Rillaboom, which is obviously very good into Urshifu specifically. I don't mind just picking up the knockout onto Tornadus if I can here, and just go for Helping Hand plus Behemoth Blade onto Tornadus. Trading Tornadus for Gothitelle, I think, is plenty fine for us. So, yeah. That last example, like, that last turn was probably the perfect turn to go for Hypnosis, because it's like, okay, best case, we put something to sleep, completely make it useless, and then the game probably just wraps up right there. But even with the miss, we're still in a mighty fine position unless they go for Hurricane Confusion onto Zacian right now. It's going to be Glide, perfect. So Gothitelle goes down. This gives me a free switch in now into Tornadus. They are going for Hurricane Confusion. Okay, so good on them. They recognize they did not need to go for Tailwind this turn. This can keep them in the game if they get the Confusion, but they don't. I say keep them in the game, but it's not over by any means. However, the thing is now I get a free switch into my Tornadus, and I have speed control. And I can just Tailwind. So, yeah. Okay. We bring out Torn. The key thing was turn 1 of this game, though. I would guess if they hit all... Like, basically, the odds were in our favor turn 1, assuming they went Triple Axle into Rillaboom, because they would need all 3 hits. If you're not Wide Lens should be on Weavile on this team. Oh, and their last one's Rillaboom, okay. So you need to then first dodge a Hypnosis. That's a 40% chance. And then you need to hit all 3 of your Triple Axles, which is just over 70%, right? 72% to be precise. So the odds of them dodging Hypnosis and getting a Triple Axle hit is not amazing for them. Yeah, it's substantially more in our favor there. So I'll take those odds, right? Anyway, got Zacian. I have Rillaboom in the back. I think there's no reason to risk a Fake Out and a Triple Axle into Tornadus at this point in the game, so I'm content to just Behemoth Blade into the Tsareena slot and switch Tornadus out into Rillaboom. Even if you Fake Out Zacian, Triple Axle, that's fine. I just get Tornadus back in. Yeah, we just have so much more offense at this point, so I think like the main name of today's game is just making my opponent's restricted Pokemon basically not be able to play the game. So, yeah. Not bad. Let's just keep it going. Alright, I'm glad to run the gauntlet of restricteds as we go up against another one. This one is Calyrex Shadow Rider. Now that's not great for Gothitelle. It's definitely a little bit scary for Goth, because obviously they can just Astral Barrage us. You know, we can Helping Hand. We're not max speed on Zacian. I don't have knockoff either. Oh, this seems a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to think, like, also, I didn't even acknowledge the bottom 4 Pokemon. Like, Mimikyu, now Eco Suicune, it is really interesting. Like, those are not Pokemon I'd expect to see on a Calyrex Shadow Rider team, truthfully. But now Ego's obviously really good into Rillaboom. The main lead I want to cover for is Mienshao plus Calyrex, right? I do have Scarf on this with Surging Strikes. I just don't see a really good lead here, because I don't have Protect on most options. I'm thinking Rillaboom, Urshifu. I don't think we can... Gothitelle trapping here is not effective. If they didn't have Now Ego, I actually would really play towards Volcarona and try to Quiver Dance up with it. But the problem is, like, I don't see how I can safely get a Quiver Dance pre-Astral Barrage. If I had Protect on Tornadus, I would probably even consider leading Torn Volk turn 1, double Protect, and then Tailwind Quiver Dance turn 2, but it's not a possibility right now. Let's see what they go with. That's going to be Incin and Mienshao. Okay. That's not terrible for us, honestly. I'll take it. We know Calyrex is going to be in the back. Intimidate onto Urshifu is relatively useless right now. Funnily enough, like, this is where if I actually led, like, Gothitelle Urshifu, this turn 1 would be wild. In a good way for us. Okay. Abilities activate. Man, the Scarf Surging Strikes. Like, I want to... Turn 1, I don't mind going for Fake Out here, and then Surging Strikes onto Mienshao. Actually, maybe I should just prioritize knocking out Incin here, because I guess they could have Quick Guard. Could Quick Guard Flare Blitz Rillaboom. That would actually be a pretty solid play. The good thing is I can probably get Tailwind up in this game. Although actually if I let Tornadus here, we probably would have been able to get Tailwind up as well, but I think I have to respect for all combinations of Calyrex Shadow Rider from their end as a lead. Okay, they're just going to Fake Out Urshifu. Okay, so we trade Fake Outs, that's fine. And I don't actually reveal that I'm Choice Scarfed here, which is very nice. Okay. Like, I want to Surging Strikes Mienshao and just try to knock that out, right? And then, like, U-turn here. to go out onto Tornadus. It's just like knocking out Incin is probably pretty tempting, but the thing is I could see them switching out Incineroar here. Into what though, I guess is the question. It's just I'm also not confident on Surging Strikes actually picking up the KO. That's my other issue. So, okay, I'm down a U-turn here and just strikes into Mienshao. Eliminate a potential Quick Guard user. I just hope Surging Strikes one-shots Mienshao here, because if not, that actually would be a really big problem, because I could have Quick Guarded. I think that's enough. Mienshao's not very bulky. Yeah, perfect. Just enough, but this is why Scarf Urshifu is just so wild. Okay. I also just like the idea of picking up a quick knockout to deny my opponent like ability to cycle out fake outs as much, right? So now I can bring out Tornadus. What's troublesome here is that they parting shot, because you can parting shot, then have Instant and Calyrex, and then pressure with fake out the next turn, which is funny because I was just talking about like stopping fake out cycling, but they just Flare Blitz. Okay, perfect. Oof, there's a lot, but and we get burnt. That's okay. It's okay. It's scary, but it's fine. Now here's the fun thing: if they bring out Calyrex Shadow Rider right now, I can just Rain Dance Surging Strikes. I don't even need to Tailwind, because Rain Dance would just allow me to KO through Protect. Yeah, this team is just so good. That's Calyrex. Cool. I guess, like, I don't know if it's actually optimal to click Rain Dance, because there is the chance that that Calyrex is actually Choice Scarfed. But if it's Scarfed, Urshifu should still survive an Astro Barrage, so I honestly do like the Rain Dance into Surging Strikes play. Unless it doesn't KO Calyrex, I guess that's the other issue. Yeah, they switch Instant out, cool, fine by me. Suicune? No, that's now Ego. Oh, that's interesting, okay. So, obviously Zacian is looking very good in this late game, right? Especially with Rain up. Yeah, I just don't know if it KOs Calyrex here in the Rain. We'll see. Okay, they're not Choice Scarf, so that's a good start. Here's hit number 1. Oh, I actually think they survive with the Sliver. That's fine, though. This Urshifu has bulk, and I have Rillaboom to Grassy Glide the Calyrex for a KO. And also, if they're Life Orb and they Astro Barrage, they might just KO themselves at this point, so I think it's fine. Even if it's a double KO here. It is a double KO, so it's probably Life Orb. They actually might survive with, like, 1 HP here. That would be troublesome. Let's see. Oh, they're not even Life Orb. Huh. Okay. Man, if I actually just went Tailwind Surging Strikes into Incin, we would have gotten the knockout onto Nihilego. They still would have picked up a double KO, but then I'd have Rillaboom Zacian with Tailwind, and then I can just fake out Behemoth Blade. Although that's not a win either. Is that Specs? I think it's fine to just click Close Combat and Grassy Glide right now. Oh, unless CC doesn't one-shot. They switch Calyrex out. I think that's fine. I'm just nervous about Close Combat not one-shotting the Nihilego, because I thought the switch was going to go the other way around. This switch is fine for now, because you reset the special attack drops on your... Oh, they protect. That's a good play. That is a good play, because now you can fake out Sludge Bomb Rillaboom. The thing is that we are Assault Vested. Sorry, fake out the Zacian, Sludge Bomb the Rillaboom. Man, the thing is I could Close Combat this, but it could switch out into Calyrex. I'm gonna Drum Beating and CC. Yeah, I think they're gonna snipe Rillaboom. Oh, no, they don't. Okay, but with AV, I would think we survive a Sludge Bomb. I don't know, let's see. Okay, good. Okay, so we get Drum Beating off, that's very good damage. It's actually not as good as I would have liked it to be honest. It's this next turn that gets dicey now. kudos to my opponent. That Calyrex was bulkier than I expected. I thought the Surging Strikes was definitely going to pick up a knockout there. They stalled out my terrain, which is the main thing. And that's a problem. I'm at neutral right now. Does Instant switch here? I would switch Instant out into Calyrex and protect Nihilego right now. But what I can do is close combat and drum beating the same slot. This is so close. Oh, they didn't protect or switch either. Am I okay with that? No, I don't think I am, because now Zacian's at -1, so if Sludge Bomb knocks out Rillaboom, you just get a single target Astral Barrage. They were correct to not attack with either. Okay. So unless Calyrex is slower for some reason, but we're slow Zacian here, so I don't think it will be. Wow, that was a really close game. So the main turn I'm thinking about is the turn that Rain Dance into Surging Strikes didn't KO. I could have taken the knockout onto Incin or Nihilego there, but if I had clicked Tailwind and Surging Strikes there, I could have gone for Play Rough last turn too. I wouldn't have eaten a special defense and defense drop, but I was worried about missing and not actually KOing Incin there. Anyway, I think our best bet is to hope for some reason their Calyrex is really slow, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah. Alright. Really curious on the item on that, because I was thinking without Life Orb, the Urshifu would have survived. So, Shadow Tag? Sorry, not Shadow Tag, Spell Tag? Specs? I'm not sure. It wasn't Scarfed. Yeah. That game just highlights how good Calyrex can be. My opponent made some nice switches in the end too, right? They switched the other way around. Instead of switching the Incin out, they switched the Calyrex out. Yeah. That was one in just which it feels like we had such a significant advantage, but it kind of just slipped away. But I guess that's the thing about Calyrex Shadow Rider. You have to watch out for each turn with Astral Barrage. If I had clicked Tailwind and Surging Strikes, we would have knocked out Nihilego, we would have had Speed Control, and the end game would have been neutral Zacian plus -1 Rillaboom, without the Rain being up against Incineroar plus the Calyrex Shadow Rider. But then they'd be at +2 special attack. So then the Incin could just fake out the Zacian. So I could fake out Incin, but the Behemoth Blade doesn't KO Calyrex, and then Calyrex just picks up another double KO. So yeah, honestly, if I clicked Tailwind and Surging Strikes there, I think we would have been even worse off. Which is crazy to think about. So maybe it was Tailwind and switch into Rillaboom. Because if I Tailwind and switch into Rillaboom there, if I Tailwind and switch into Rillaboom, then Rillaboom takes some damage, but then the position is Rillaboom plus Zacian under Tailwind. They have Nihilego. Yeah. Yeah. Just impressed by Calyrex surviving that, but I don't even know if you need a lot of bulk investment to survive it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you just naturally can. It was really close, but in the end, all you need is a little bit of HP. So, yeah, kudos to my opponent. Okay, so for that last one, like, I was really curious, and I was like, am I wild in thinking that Surging Strikes would get a knockout? And yeah, if you look at this, against Noble Calyrex, it's actually a guaranteed KO in the rain with Surging Strikes. And also look at this. Astral Barrage from modest max special attack is never a guaranteed KO. So if I had to guess, obviously they were bulkier, right? Like, let's say they have max HP EVs here. Crazy thing is that Surging Strikes can still KO there. So maybe it was like a ton of defensive bulk as well. Because if you're like, you know, obviously like max HP and max defense, then yeah, Surging Strikes isn't a KO. So they had to have been very, very heavily invested in bulk there, and that's not typically the case on Calyrex Shadow Rider teams, so that in itself is really interesting. And second of all, Astral Barrage is, like I mentioned, not going to be a KO there since this Urshifu is bulk. And they didn't have Life Orb, right? So it was either Spell Tag, because with Spell Tag, you do get a little bit higher, and it's a 75% chance to one-shot. And of course, if you are Choice Specs here, then it is a guaranteed KO. So yeah, I don't feel super bad about losing that one, because that is a pretty unorthodox Calyrex Shadow Rider EV spread. in the majority of teams that we go up against, you'll typically pick up the KO with Surging Strikes there. So I do think that's generally the correct play. Just because as I reflected on, I'm not sure there are any significantly better options there anyway. So that is just really interesting to see. But this is exactly why I went for Rain Dance Surging Strikes that turn, because I thought it was just going to KO, right? And it's like, you know, not many Calyrex even run much bulk to begin with. So I'm very curious how much bulk it had between HP and defense, because it's like, it was probably a damage roll either way, unless they were just like max. Now, one thing they could be is, let's take a look. Like, let's say you don't have any special attack investment, and you're just max HP, max defense. This is pretty wild, right? Where Surging Strikes never KOs, and Astral Barrage is still a guaranteed KO if you're modest, even with no investment onto Urshifu. So, that being said, actually, we knew that the Calyrex outsped the Zacian in the end game, but our Zacian also isn't like super speedy here. But obviously, Calyrex had some speed investment. So, yeah. I really wish we could see my opponent spread, honestly, because that has got to be one of the most impressive Calyrex Shadow Rider spreads I've seen, where it was able to not only survive a Rain Dance Surging Strikes, but also one-shot in return. So, if I had to guess, it's just really bulky with choice specs. Like, let's take a look. Your max HP, max speed, I don't know, that could also be a possibility. Yeah, I will be left forever wondering what the Calyrex Shadow Rider spread there was. But that was a fun one, and I think Calyrex is probably one of the trickier restricteds to go up against. And if we just went up against the standard Calyrex, that would have been a KO, but really good spread from my opponent there. And that's why EV spreads in VGC can be very, very critical in the game. So, yeah. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. Thank you to Parish VGC for the team. Details in the description below. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.